Good day, and thank you, Mark, really for a nice introduction. Like last year, we are seeing each other for the second time. You with your group, with your valuable NGO and organization. Thank you for inviting me. Of course, it will be my pleasure to speak in front of so many people from different parts of the world, of the globe, which is of course becoming smaller and smaller every day. How much technological revolution is advancing, and is advancing in more and in bigger and bigger speed. So I will speak like maybe some kind of continuation of the last year speech on the two pillars. First, general about social cultural diplomacy, and of course I will try to do some cultural diplomacy concerning my country, Republic of Macedonia, and speak some details, some interesting facts, and I hope we'll have some also short debate after that. I don't know how much time we have, half hour? Okay, not for the speech, of course, only for in total. Okay, let me. I think we are all aware of the traditional meaning of diplomacy, what has been in the many centuries in the past. That in general sense, diplomacy has been a mainly state-based instrument for promotion of nations' interests and, of course, promotion of values. Today, speaking in 21st century about diplomacy, or even more specific about cultural diplomacy, we can see that the environment has really changed dramatically. It has changed, like I'm always saying, because of the process mainly of globalization, process of technological revolution, which changed the total environment, multinational environment and international environment. So we can speak today that, of course, states have still dominant role, but in the international system there are a lot of non-state actors who are part of the new mosaic of the international system, and they give their additional value to the diplomacy or to the cultural diplomacy. We can say that today we live in the multipolar world, which is widely interconnected between itself. We can speak that all of those actors have increasing role in modification of diplomacy, or even modification of cultural diplomacy. So speaking in that sense, we can say that there is no more, when we speak about cultural diplomacy, some passive promotion of the country, but the non-state actors are building strong bridges for maintaining relationships and, of course, behaviors, and even maintaining and building the new values of the mankind in general. Because they can do it in this field with this international globalized environment. And I would want to mention one example, for example, which can bring us closer to some sense that I want for you to perceive as a value of the cultural diplomacy today. So the process of globalization made it clear that there is a very strong element of individualization of the processes and of the new products. So, for example, one person can make, for example, we all know how Facebook was made by one or few people, and there are a lot of new tools that have been invented, and applications have been delivered the values to the mankind because one person or few person or small group have invented it. And really the process of individualization in business, in diplomacy, in innovation is growing. So, for example, even for building some new values, considering how the future international system can be framed, for example, small groups or non-state actors can make some very big value towards that. For example, I just wanted to underline the great work that, for example, few NGOs like Oxfam, Amnesty International, or Controls Arms made it for 10 years. That finished in the accepting by the General Assembly of the United Nations, so by the states, the Army Trade Treaty, which should be a first historic step of mankind, for example, to control the conventional weapon. And this is a new big value towards the international system and its achievement for whole international community and in general for whole mankind. So only few NGOs who are now globalized, because the tools are affording them to that can do this kind of this, in this scope their job, they can be very effective after that to put the point, the new value on the international field and really in the United Nations, where is the center of the international system, and even to push and make some promotion towards that to the state actors. And after 10 years, for example, this treaty was elected. And this is kind of cultural diplomacy, which says that today cultural diplomacy has no borders. Like many other things have no borders. This is good because the world is connecting. You don't need today these meetings, or you don't need some, even the concert can be made online. 5 artists on different instruments in 5 continents can make one nice, beautiful concert on internet, and can be seen by much more than in factual concerts. So I think I'm approaching to the perception that I want to give to you, that cultural diplomacy has really changed so much, has changing its basic definition, and is giving a new additional value to the general sense of what means diplomacy. But of course, the diplomacy is also very much changing, because today, like I'm now involved in diplomacy, I'm working in diplomacy. Diplomacy today is very, very different. Even the professional diplomacy is very different than it was just 20 or 30 years ago. If I can imagine my work in day, it is less politics, much more all the other actions in many different fields, like in business, in the health system, education, of course, which brings one small country like Macedonia to be in position to be more and more open and transparent, and of course wanting to be part of this world network in diplomatic sense. Let me just mention a few words as I started about Macedonia, and after I hope we'll also have some debate. Macedonia is a small country. It's 2 million people, country from the Balkans Peninsula. It's a multi-ethnic country with multi-confessional, multi-religious. So we have few nationalities or ethnic communities. We have a few religious communities in the country. We have few cultural communities, of course, and they, with the centuries, they have been living together. They have been understanding each one's culture, and of course they have at the end created one country who is trying to be part of the European Union and other Euro-Atlantic structures. So Macedonia, its independence proclaimed in 1991. In 2008, we fulfilled the criteria to be a member of NATO. In 2009, we fulfilled criteria to start the negotiation process for Euro integration. So in fact, it means that we have done our job. We have fulfilled all the criteria, all the duties, and done our homework. Unfortunately, there is one big issue concerning Macedonia's integration, and this is, I think maybe you all know, the name issue that we have. This strange, really, issue with our southern neighbor Republic of Greece. I'm saying strange because how much years are passing, and there is almost 20 years of this dispute. Really, it's more and more and harder for me to explain for what are we really discussing and what is the dispute about and what is the problem. Because especially here in Brussels or in Belgium living, we can find one very good similar example, like for example is now Republic of Macedonia, and it's neighboring by the same name province in Greece, Macedonia. Like you have here in Belgium one province of Luxembourg, and next to the province is the country of Luxembourg. And since I'm also ambassador to Luxembourg, and when I go there and start to come back to Luxembourg, when you enter Belgium from Luxembourg, you will see just the sign you just entered in the Belgian Luxembourg. But this should not be a problem, because someone or two people or two groups or two nations consider themselves, for example, as Macedonians, like we want to say. And we have been always very open and fair, and said that whoever wants to call on his name Macedonian, we don't have anything against. But in 21st century in Europe, our right is to choose our name like we want to choose, and like it is the historic name of our nation. So we are confronting now the attitude and position of Republic of Greece to don't agree, not because of some territorial pretensions, claims, or I don't know what else, because it's a much bigger country and they have much more powerful army, but just because we use the name of Macedonia like we have used many centuries ago. But like also some people, especially in the politics in Greece, consider that they have only right to use this name, unfortunately. And today in 21st century, you cannot say that you just have your right to use that name. Someone else, if wants to use it name, it's very normal, very democratic to say about that. So we are unfortunately blocked by this position of the member of European Union and NATO in our advancing towards the Euro-Atlantic structures, which are strategic for us, which are the structures or a group that is a part of us. Naturally, we are considering ourselves as Europeans, not only because we think just like that, but just because we share the same values like most of the European nations do, and we think that our natural position is to be part of the big united Europe, or in state form European Union. I will just try to provoke you maybe in some directions, considering that we have this dispute, which is also problem of the cultural diplomacy. I think that we are starting from the different angles, but anyhow the different angles who are not based on like we want to see European values and criteria. So unfortunately, instead to Europeanize the Balkan, I think this is a concrete issue of Balkanizing the Europe, as I already mentioned. So the dispute is continuing, of course, in the conflict between, or misunderstanding, cultural misunderstanding, for using the name, for example, of some historic persons like Alexander the Great. For example, we unfortunately Greece took it as a provocation when we named the airport in our capital in Skopje Alexander the Great. They have also named many other capacities as Alexander the Great, but I think that there is also some problem. For example, we share also one very important, even in nowadays, historic figure like is Mother Teresa. I think it's very well known to you who is Mother Teresa. She is born in Skopje, but by origin she was Albanian. And today, for example, in Skopje, in Macedonia, we have the Northwest highway named Mother Teresa, but Albanians in Albania have named their airport in the capital Tirana Mother Teresa, and nobody is frustrated because of that, and nobody is seeing provocation of that, neither we or Albanians. So in essence, for the same example, you see very different types of cultural behaving, and I think that cultural diplomacy must go in direction which is its of course own goal, to unite people, to unite the cultures, and to make the things much more easier, because there is nothing that we cannot understand between each other, except if we want to stick to some stereotypes of the past. So thank you very much, and I'm open for any question or comments. Thank you. I thank you for the question. It's very good one for this purpose. You know, it's maybe somehow historic context. You know quite well from coming from Croatia, and you know what Macedonian is and was. Unfortunately, we didn't have. I'm speaking now as Macedonian. We didn't have luck to form the country like most of the countries in especially in this part of Europe have formed it. So Macedonia is independent for the first time nowadays from '91. In that sense, we really didn't dreamed our dreams like it was with other, when the how to say building the nation and dreaming the dream of your independence of the nation, like most of the European countries and even the Balkan countries had in 20th or 19th century. We should had it just 20 years ago. So it's up to some politics that sometimes in this short period of time of 20 years or even shorter, like you mentioned the building of the monuments in Skopje and other parts of Macedonia, have started to be some policy of the government. Now we can differ one government with another, but in general sense, it's true that we think that, for example, Alexander the Great is also part of the our Macedonian history. In Greece, they think that it's part of their Macedonian Greek history. There are also some people in Bulgaria, because they think that it's something is part, or we share, like Republic of Macedonia with Bulgaria, like they are part of their Macedonian Bulgarian history. So we don't have problems with anyone who, as I said, and we tolerate very much when we speak about the name, that there should not be authorization. It should not be authorization also on the people, on the events. At the end of the story, we are trying to Europeanize ourselves, and this was one of the big formula for getting Europe after many centuries in blood and wars together, which is today. So you should little bit think or forget the history and concentrate on the present, especially on the future, because like President Kennedy said, if you are so much seeing the past, you will miss the future. So it's up to some it's explanations. Now, should we have how big statute we should have, or how must, for example, from the other side in Greece have the big statue of Alexander the Great, which at the end I don't think that there is some bigger sense. We can use it like everybody. At the end, Alexander the Great is a let's say, not only for us or for Republic of Greece, but it's a global role in some part of the human history. So we're accepting like that. Now, differences in the building of monuments, we can speak that, as I said, one government would like to underline some historic events in the past. Some government would not like, but in sense there is not some for me some big issue, considering that we should share the all these events and heroes together. Even if I can add also, although we spoke, for example, about this big issue that Macedonia has concerning the name, I must say and underline here that our relations with the Republic of Greece, except this issue, which is mainly produced in the politics, and especially for the purposes of the domestic politics, I think you understand me. All other relations that Macedonia or Macedonian citizens have with Greece are quite positive. I will tell you traditionally 70 or 80% of Macedonians go on summer holidays on the beaches in Greece, especially in the northern part, because it's very natural to go. It's first stop on the coast, so there is no some obstacles to not to be there. Greece is a second foreign investor in Macedonia. They took very strategic capacities like refinery or the second mobile network or second bank in Macedonia. So it's just business is going quite well, especially with the economic crisis. Many of the Greeks, for example, from this border region, they cooperate strongly even before the crisis. They opened a lot of small plants because some differences between our wages and level of wages and the European or Greek ones. So the inter-border cooperation it's going quite well, quite successful. The cooperation between official cooperation between communities from the both sides is going quite well. So you can, if you go today concerning the crisis in Greece, you will see in the first petrol station in Macedonia many Greeks how they took oil and go back from in the border, and there is nothing there. It's very open border. So I'm just underlining that unfortunately, except this issue, which is highly political, I consider it like that, all other relations between the people, NGOs, civil societies are going quite good, like a neighboring country. So at the end, as a culmination, we would like to see that we will stronger the political relations with our neighbor, because it's very natural that you with neighbor in Europe you should have good relations. In essence, we have on all other fields except for this highly political issue, which is unfortunately.
I study European Union studies. As a candidate state for accession to the EU, what sort of process is that? Is it purely transcription of laws and economic requirements, or what sort of role would you say cultural diplomacy plays in that process?
Yes, as you said, our EU integration process is connected with transplanting and implementing the European laws, which is one part, and which is not so much interconnected with our cultural diplomacy and what the Macedonia is doing on this field. There could be some interconnections about this, but Yeah, I don't know actually the question, is there a connection or what Macedonia is doing on this field? Yes, of course that it plays. Yeah, that it's have a also big role in this. You know, it's Macedonia is promoting here in Brussels, the capital of Europe Union, and would be also in this hosting of our of the mission and the embassy. And this is also part of the cultural diplomacy. There are we have guests from all around the world, and you can just feel that they are existing one country, small country. You can see the promotion materials, and this is also part of the cultural diplomacy and what Macedonia is doing in EU integration processes and cultural diplomacy.
My name is Iqbal. I'm Master Student of Conflict and Security at the University of Kent, Brussels. Uh, have you taken some initiatives in order to resolve these crises from cultural diplomacy's perspective for the tensions between Macedonia and Greece?
As I said, part of the cultural diplomacy is daily cooperation, communication between our citizens and our groups, different groups of the society or of the government with Greece. Also, local authorities they have also. So everything is part of the cultural diplomacy. I just finished my last sentence that, unfortunately, because we have created a positive picture in all the other relations between the two countries. Unfortunately, on the top is this highly political issue that sometimes diminishes the other relations. Although, for example, as I said, in the business we have not allowed it. In the cultural field, we have also, as I said, tourists coming to there are more and more Greek tourists coming to Macedonia. Vice versa, I said, in the cultural sense, in many parts of Greece, especially, for example, in Athens, in Thessaloniki, there are events organized by our embassy, cultural events organized by our embassy there, or cultural events because of some cooperation between two institutions. So, as I said, it's everything on the ground is quite good. Unfortunately, on the top is this issue that we cannot find the solution. We have a negotiation process running almost 20 years in the United Nations, which I think with the time it's has lost its influence and especially acceptance. We have said a few times in the last 2-3 years, especially after the crisis, it's obvious that the other party is not so much involved in this process because it has other priorities. But we have said that we would like to see a stronger role of the European Union itself for kind of mediating the process. And maybe not now because we are just in the election week, and not maybe this year because we know how it needs time to create a new government, the structures in the European Union. But after everything is done on its place, we are willing and have welcomed many times for Europe or European Union to have much bigger role in these negotiations. Like we said, like we saw, for example, with Serbian Kosovo negotiations. It was intense process of negotiations. Today we have 2 times in the year meetings or 3 times in the year meetings in United Nations between our negotiators, which is not in essence negotiation process. It's more, today there are more talks than negotiations. But we would like to see negotiation.
Okay, well, on that note, I'd like to also, from my side, express our gratitude once again, Your Excellency, for hosting us here in the mission, and also for the excellent keynote address. And I think that cultural diplomacy certainly can play a role in the dialogue between Macedonia and the EU. Hopefully, also Macedonia and Greece as well. I think there it'd be fascinating to see what can be done. As you know, one of our dreams at the Institute is one day to actually do an event in Macedonia where we might even be able to deal with the multilateral issues as well. So I think if there's a role that we can play, we're ready, and we should definitely try to see how we can do that. Mr. Rushev and I are already in dialogue about what the next steps might be. But thank you again very, very much for having been with us today. And it's also a privilege that we can be here in the mission of Macedonia. So we're grateful that we can be hosted here for the sessions today and also tomorrow. So let us please all join in expressing our gratitude to His Excellency, Ambassador of Macedonia.